Doctor, please save our mummy. We will pay you when we grow up.
But that is a long time. We need money to treat her.
The surgeon's hand froze midair. The operating room lights blurred. For the first time in 5 years, Dr. Marcus Thorne felt his heart fail him before any patients ever had. At his feet lay a fallen scarf. On the medical file in his hands, her name. And on the photograph slipping from the pages, a tattoo on her wrist. His name. Marcus. Behind him, 2 terrified twins waited for his verdict, unaware they were staring at the man who had abandoned them before they were born. Ahead of him, on a hospital bed fighting for her last breath, lay the woman he once loved, the woman he was told had betrayed him. And in that single moment, Marcus understood the truth. He wasn't just about to lose a patient. He was about to lose the family he never knew was his. Stay with us to find out how one hidden tattoo shattered a lie that lasted 5 years, and whether love can survive the damage of silence. If you love emotional stories that reveal life-changing secrets, powerful reunions, and second chances, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and comment below, because your support helps bring more stories like this to life. Now, let me tell you how it all began. The rain was loud that night, crashing against the windows of the small apartment like angry hands. Thunder rolled across the sky as the weak kitchen light buzzed above the stove. Elena stood there, stirring a pot of soup slowly. She looked tired, very tired, but her face still carried warmth. She always tried to look strong in front of her children. At the small table nearby, 5-year-old Elio sat swinging his legs, making car sounds with a spoon. 5-year-old Elio sat beside him, hugging her doll, watching her mother closely. "Mommy, I'm hungry," Leo said. Elena smiled. "Just a little more, my love. The soup is almost ready." Leah tilted her head. "Mommy, why are you breathing like that?" Elena paused for a second, then laughed softly. "I'm fine, sweetheart. I just need to rest after dinner." Her hand shook as she reached for the salt. The salt fell to the floor. "Oops," she said, trying to sound playful. Leo frowned. "Mommy, you dropped it." "It's okay," Elena replied, but her voice was weak. She took one step forward, then another, then suddenly the world spun. Her eyes widened. "Leo, Leah," she whispered. Before they could move, Elena collapsed onto the floor. "Mommy." Leah screamed, dropping her doll and running to her. Leo jumped down from his chair, shaking. "Mommy, wake up." Elena lay still, her breathing uneven. Her hand clutched the old scarf wrapped tightly around her wrist, the one she never took off. "Mommy, don't sleep," Leah cried, shaking her arm. "Please don't sleep." Leo ran to the door and started banging it with his small fists. "Help! My mommy fell. Please help." A neighbor heard and rushed in. "Oh my God," the woman said. "Call an ambulance." The room filled with noise and panic. Rain soaked the stairs as paramedics rushed inside. They lifted Elena onto a stretcher. "Mommy, where are you going?" Leah cried, trying to climb after her. "She needs help," one paramedic said gently. "You'll come too." Inside the ambulance, the siren wailed loudly. Leo covered his ears. Leah held her mother's cold hand tightly. "Mommy, I'm here," she whispered. Elena opened her eyes for a moment and smiled weakly. "My babies," she said. "Be good." "Don't go," Leo cried. "Please don't go." The hospital was bright and scary. People were everywhere. Stretchers lined the hallway. Nurses ran past without stopping. The twins were placed on a bench that felt too big for them. Their feet couldn't touch the floor. "Where is Mommy?" Leah asked again and again. "She'll come back," Leo said, though his voice shook. After a long time, a doctor came. He knelt in front of them so his eyes were level with theirs. "You're very brave," he said softly. "Your mommy is very sick. Her heart is tired." Leah hugged her doll tighter. "Can you make her better?" The doctor swallowed. "We will try." Outside, the storm continued, and inside the overcrowded hospital, 2 5-year-old children waited, holding each other, not knowing that this night would change their lives forever. Morning came slowly, pale light creeping through the high hospital windows, but nothing felt calm. The twins sat on the long bench in the hallway, their small hands locked together. Leo's head rested on Leah's shoulder. Leah's eyes were red and swollen from crying, but she refused to sleep. Every time footsteps passed, She lifted her head. "Is that Mommy?" she asked. "Not yet," Leo answered softly, trying to sound brave even though his chest hurt. After what felt like forever, a doctor in a white coat walked toward them. He looked tired, his eyes heavy. He stopped in front of them and knelt again. "I need to talk to you," he said gently. "About your mommy." Leah's lip trembled. "Is she awake?" The doctor shook his head. "She's resting, but her heart is very weak." Leo frowned. "Like when my toy runs out of battery." The doctor gave a sad smile. "Yes, something like that." He took a deep breath. "Your mommy has a rare heart problem. It's not something we see often. Her heart muscles are damaged, and they can't pump blood the way they should anymore." Leah hugged her doll tighter. "Can you fix it?" she asked. The doctor hesitated. "Not here," he said honestly. "This hospital doesn't have the tools or the specialist for this kind of surgery." Leo felt a tight knot in his stomach. "So, she will get better later." The doctor looked away for a second, then back at them. "She needs a special operation. Without it, her heart will keep getting weaker." Leah's eyes filled again. "Who can do it?" The doctor straightened slightly. "There is one man in this city who can." He said the name slowly, carefully, like it carried weight. "Dr. Marcus Thorne." Leo tried to repeat it. "Marcus Thorne." The doctor nodded. "He is the best heart surgeon we have. He has saved many lives." Leah felt a small spark of hope. "Then call him," she said quickly. "Tell him to come help Mommy." The doctor sighed. "It's not that simple." "Why?" Leo asked. "Because Dr. Thorne doesn't work in hospitals like this," the doctor explained. "He has his own private clinic. Everything there is advanced. The machines, the rooms, the staff." Leah's voice shook. "So he can help her?" "Yes," the doctor said quietly. "But his work costs a lot of money. More money than most families can ever afford." Leo's small face twisted in confusion. "Money?" "Yes," the doctor replied. "His surgery fees are very high." Leah shook her head. "But Mommy is good. She helps people. She brings food to the old woman downstairs." The doctor swallowed hard. "I know. But Dr. Thorne doesn't make decisions with his heart. He makes them with rules and numbers." Leo leaned forward. "Is he mean?" The doctor paused. "No," he said slowly. "He is brilliant. Very brilliant. But he is distant. He keeps his feelings far away from his work." Leah looked down at her doll. "Does he care if people cry?" The doctor didn't answer right away. "He cares about doing the surgery perfectly," he said at last. "But he doesn't let emotions change his choices." Leo clenched his small fists. "Then how do we make him help Mommy?" The doctor looked at the twins, so small on that big bench, and his voice softened. "You can try to talk to him. But I must be honest with you. He rarely changes his mind." Leah whispered, "But he's the only one." The doctor nodded slowly. "Yes, he is the only one." And just like that, the truth settled heavily in the air. Eleanor's life now rested in the hands of a man known across the city for his genius, his cold heart, and a price no 5-year-old could understand. The number the doctor wrote on the paper looked harmless at first, just lines and curves, but when Leo tried to read it, his chest hurt. He couldn't count that high. Leah stared at it like it was written in another language. "Is that how many days?" she asked softly. The doctor shook his head. "No, sweetheart. That's how much the surgery costs." Leo swallowed. "Can we pay little by little?" The doctor sighed. "It has to be paid before the surgery." Leah's eyes filled. "But we don't have money." "I know," the doctor said gently. "That's why I said it would be very hard." Leo nodded slowly, trying to think like a grown-up. "Then where is this doctor?" he asked. "Where does he work?" The doctor hesitated, then wrote an address. "Dr. Marcus Thorne's clinic," he said. "It's across the city." Leah clutched the paper. "We'll go," she said. "We'll ask him nicely." That same day, holding hands, the twins took buses and walked long streets until tall glass buildings rose in front of them. The clinic looked like it belonged in another world. Everything shined. The doors opened by themselves. Inside, The air was cold and quiet. People spoke in low voices. The floor reflected their small shoes. Leo felt suddenly small, but he squeezed Leah's hand. "We have to be brave," he whispered. They sat in the waiting room. The chairs were white and stiff. A woman behind a desk glanced at them. "Where are your parents?" she asked. "We are here to see Dr. Marcus Thorne," Leo said seriously. The woman frowned. "Do you have an appointment?" Leah shook her head. "Our mommy is sick." The woman sighed. "Sit there." Minutes turned into hours. Leah drew on a scrap of paper with a pencil she carried everywhere, sketching her mother's smile. Leo watched every door, standing up each time it opened. Finally, footsteps echoed. A tall man stepped out. He wore a sharpsuit. His face was calm, almost hard. People straightened when they saw him. This was Marcus. Leo pulled Leah forward. "Sir," he said quickly. Marcus stopped, clearly annoyed. "This is not appropriate." Leah stepped closer, her voice shaking. "Please, sir. Our mommy is dying." Marcus sighed. "I'm busy." Leo reached into his pocket and pulled out a small toy car. "You can have this," he said. "It's my favorite." Leah held out her drawing. "I can draw for you. I'll draw anything you want." Marcus looked down at the items, then at their faces. Something strange flickered in his eyes, but his voice stayed cold. "I don't barter," he said. "This is a medical facility, not a charity." Leo's voice cracked. "We'll work when we are bigger. We promise." Marcus straightened. Sentiment doesn't fund equipment or staff. He turned away. For just a second, his eyes lingered on the twins, unsettled for reasons he didn't understand. Then he walked off. The doors closed behind him, leaving the twins standing in the cold room, holding broken promises and impossible hope. Marcus's hand was already on the door handle, his face tight with impatience, his mind returning to the donor waiting in the lobby, the schedule he had to keep, the pristine order of his life. The twins shuffled forward, small and trembling, and Marcus gestured sharply. "This way. You must leave now." Leo's small jaw tightened. His eyes blazed with something older than his years, raw and desperate. He had held back tears, had tried to be polite, had listened to every cold word the man had said, but he couldn't stay silent any longer. He reached into his small backpack, fumbling briefly, and pulled out a thick folder. The medical scans the hospital had given them, photocopies of test results, charts, pictures of their mother's heart in black and white detail. "Look at her!" Leo shouted, his voice cracking. His little fists trembled as he threw the folder onto Marcus's polished desk. The folder landed with a soft thump, pages spilling across the smooth wood. "At least look at her. Her name is Elena." Marcus froze mid-step, his hand still on the door. Elena. The name hit him like a physical blow. His chest tightened. His breath caught. He swallowed hard. Elena. That name, so familiar, so impossibly familiar, pulled at a part of him he thought long dead. He stepped back, eyes narrowing, as the folder's pages scattered. He reached for the closest papers without thinking, grabbing the scans with hands that had always been steady, and now shook slightly. "Elena," he whispered under his breath, disbelief tasting bitter on his tongue. He barely noticed Leah at first, still crying softly, her small face red, tears streaking her cheeks. In her panic and fear, she turned toward the door, clutching her small bag, her sobs rattling the silence in the office. I just want to go back," she gasped, and the strap of the bag caught on the brass handle. She stumbled, nearly falling. Marcus, still caught in the echo of the name, reacted instinctively. He reached out, one hand steadying her small shoulder, the other catching her arm. "Careful," he snapped, but the words sounded hollow even to his own ears. In the struggle, Leah's small wrist bent awkwardly. She had been holding onto her mother's scarf, a soft, faded thing she always carried for comfort, wrapped gently around her hand, and in the movement, the charm bracelet she wore snagged on the fabric. The scarf slipped from her grasp. For a moment, time seemed to slow. The scarf floated through the air, almost in slow motion, before landing silently at Marcus's feet. He stared down at it, frozen. The soft folds of fabric, so ordinary and yet so impossibly familiar, tugged at something deep inside him. His fingers itched to reach for it, but his mind refused to acknowledge what he already knew. He looked back at the twins. Leo's chest heaved, his small fists clenched. Leah's face was streaked with tears, her eyes wide and pleading. "Please," she whispered, voice breaking. "Please help her." The room was thick with tension, the kind of tension that made the air feel heavy, like a storm trapped inside four walls. Marcus's breath came faster now, shallow, ragged. He bent down slowly, almost against his will, and picked up the scarf. It smelled faintly of lavender and something else he couldn't place, a faint trace of the past that wrapped around him like a memory he had buried for decades. He held it, trembling, as his eyes flicked toward the scattered scans, toward the name written in bold letters across the top page, Elena Rossi. And then, as if the universe itself had paused, everything, the pristine office, the distant donor, the rigid schedule, collapsed around him. Elena. His Elena. And now, somehow, his children, small, pleading, desperate, were standing right in front of him. The scarf felt impossibly heavy in his hand, carrying years of absence, regret, and love he had never admitted even to himself. He straightened slowly, clutching the scarf, looking down at the folder and the twins, and for the first time in decades, Marcus Thorne felt his heart skip, falter, and ache, not for a patient, not for a procedure, but for the family he had never known, the love he had lost. And the truth that had just revealed itself in the simplest of ways. A scarf, a name, and two small children who had waited their whole lives for him to see them. Marcus stood frozen, the scarf still clutched loosely in his hand. The threads were soft, worn thin from years, carrying a faint scent he didn't recognize at first and then suddenly remembered. Lavender, a faint trace of soap, and something intimate and familiar like the echo of a life he had almost forgotten. His eyes dropped from the scarf to the folder of scans and medical documents that Leo had thrown across his polished desk. He picked it up slowly, almost unwillingly, his fingers brushing against the edges of the pages. The patient's name stared at him from the top sheet in stark black letters. Impossible to ignore, Elena Rossi. He blinked. Then he blinked again. His breath hitched. The name hit him in the chest like a hammer. His heart stuttered. Somewhere deep inside, a lock clicked open, one he hadn't realized had been bolted shut for decades. Elena. He glanced up, and the room seemed to tilt, the air thickening around him. His eyes fell on the twins, small and trembling, standing just a few feet away, their faces pale, eyes wide, hearts pounding visibly in the small, tense movements of their tiny bodies. And then, he saw them properly, really looked at them, for the first time. Leo's face was sharp, small but unmistakably shaped, the jawline that he himself had. His brother's lips pursed, anger and fear and determination all mixed together, a mirror of what Marcus might have looked like at that age. And then there was Leah. Her eyes, large, round, soft, the exact shape of Elena's eyes. Her small hands fidgeted with the strap of her bag, but Marcus couldn't take his gaze off her eyes. Those eyes held familiarity, recognition, and something deeper he couldn't name, something that pried at the edges of memory and pulled a hollow ache into his chest. Time slowed. Every sound in the office faded except for the faint thump of his own heart and the soft rustle of the scarf between his fingers. He bent slowly, almost in disbelief, reaching to lay the scarf on the desk, the movement deliberate and trembling. His hand shook slightly more than it should have, more than he had thought possible for a man who had lived decades in control, who had trained himself to command every inch of a room and every beat of his life. He set the scarf down carefully, not wanting to touch it too roughly, as if it carried a life within its folds. He looked back at the folder, picking it up again, hands hesitant, almost reluctant, like a man afraid to see what he already knew. He flipped through the pages slowly, almost in slow motion, and a photograph slipped out. It floated down to the desk like it had been waiting, landing on top of the scattered medical charts. He picked it up immediately, his eyes drawn to the figure in the image. Elena, pale and fragile, lying in a hospital bed, her hair spread over the pillow, the soft lighting making her skin look almost unreal in its delicacy. She looked tired, worn, the glow of life dimmed, but even in this weakened state, her presence commanded the space. And then his eyes dropped to her wrist. At first, he thought he was seeing things. A small part of the hospital gown had shifted, and there it was, a mark, faint but unmistakable, etched in simple black ink. A tattoo. His chest tightened. He leaned closer. The letters were elegant, neat, the kind of handwriting someone would take care to make permanent. And there it was, plain and undeniable, Marcus. The name stared back at him. His own name, on her wrist, faded but real, carved into her skin, a permanent imprint of a love he had thought lost forever, a history he had believed erased. He drew the photograph closer, his breath shallow, as if breathing too deeply might make it vanish. He whispered it aloud, almost without meaning to, "Marcus." The sound of it on his tongue was both unbearable and miraculous, a mixture of grief, disbelief, and sudden, impossible recognition. He looked up slowly, finally at the twins again. Leo's small jaw, Leah's wide, pale eyes. The pieces fell into place, each detail snapping into focus. The scarf, the photograph, the name, the faces before him. They all connected like a chain pulled tight around his heart. His hands trembled slightly as he set the photo down, his mind reeling. The air felt thick and heavy, the room silent except for the small whimpers from Leah, the soft clenching of Leo's fists. Marcus's breath came in ragged little gasps as realization swept over him like a tidal wave. Elena had carried this secret, had carried him, had carried their children, through years of silence. And now, in one sudden, impossible moment, he saw everything laid bare in the small faces, in the delicate threads of a scarf, in a single tattoo that spoke louder than any words could. He whispered again, almost to himself, "Elena," and the sound caught in his throat, shaking, trembling, the years of absence and longing and regret pouring into that single syllable. The scarf, the photo, the tattoo, the folder, all of it pressed against him, pressing on his heart, and he realized, with an aching clarity, that everything had led to this one impossible moment. The truth was here. His family, the life he never knew, the love he had lost, was standing right in front of him. The young Marcus was late, as usual, balancing a stack of heavy textbooks and a notebook spilling over with scribbles and equations as he rushed into the small cafe near the university. The air was warm with the scent of coffee and pastries, a contrast to the chill outside. He bumped into a chair, muttered an apology, and froze. She was there, hair loose, wild, catching the light from the window, paint smudges on her hands, a faint streak of red on her cheek from some art project. Elena looked up from her sketchbook, startled, and their eyes met. Something electric passed between them, a jolt that made Marcus's chest tighten, a sense of recognition he couldn't explain. I'm sorry, he stammered, adjusting his books. "I didn't mean, you're clumsy," she said with a small smile, but it wasn't mocking. It was curious, like she wanted to see more. "And you smell like coffee and stress." He laughed, the sound awkward and genuine. "Medical student life," he said, collapsing onto the empty chair across from her. "It's a disaster." "I'm Elena," she said, holding out a paint-smeared hand. "Art student. Disaster of a different kind." "Marcus," he replied, taking her hand gently. The warmth of her skin hit him like sunlight. "Nice to meet a disaster I can understand." The first conversation was simple, about school, about professors, about the endless chase for knowledge and creation. But it wasn't simple at all. Their words carried a weight, a curiosity, a recognition of each other's souls. She laughed at his jokes, sometimes lightly, sometimes loudly, her head thrown back, hair tumbling over her shoulders. He watched her in awe, noticing the way her eyes lit up when she saw a color in her sketch, the way her hands moved when she spoke. She noticed him noticing, and the corners of her mouth lifted knowingly. Days passed into weeks, weeks into months. They met everywhere. The library where Marcus tried to study, but couldn't he stop looking at her leaning over a book? Whispering dreams about futures that felt impossible. The small park by the river where they sat under trees sharing sandwiches, sharing ideas, sharing pieces of themselves. They whispered plans, dreams, fears, hopes, under the stars. "One day, I'll be a surgeon," he said one evening, the night air sharp and full of stars. "I'll save people, maybe even people I don't know." "I'll paint everything I see," she replied, leaning her head on his shoulder. "Everything I love." They laughed quietly, afraid to disturb the hush of the night, the magic of it, the feeling that the world had narrowed just to them. Kisses were stolen between pages of books, under stairwells, in corners of empty classrooms. Each touch, each laugh, each whispered word stitched them closer together, a tapestry of connections so deep it scared them. Then came the night of the tattoo. They had been sitting by the fountain in the park, rain gently falling, the city lights reflecting on wet stones. Marcus leaned back, teasing, half joking. "You know, if you want to remember me forever, you should brand yourself. Right here," he said, gesturing at her wrist, "with my name. Then you'd never forget me." Elena laughed, a mischievous, bright sound. "You're insane," she said, brushing water from her hair. But the spark in her eyes betrayed her. "Maybe I am," she whispered, and the next morning, with a small needle, ink, and courage she didn't know she had, the letters were there, MERCUS, on her wrist. A permanent, impulsive mark of a love she didn't yet know would break her heart. Then came the letter. The news that Marcus had been accepted into a prestigious surgical program abroad. He was to leave in weeks, the kind of opportunity that would define his life, a chance to rise out of poverty, to prove himself. Elena tried to smile, tried to be happy for him, but the world felt hollow in her chest. The day he left, they stood on the platform of the train station, cold wind biting at their faces, coats clutched around them. His bags were heavy with books and dreams. Her hands were empty, but her heart was full. "You'll write?" she asked, voice small. "You'll call?" "Every week," he said, swallowing hard, trying to be strong. "I promise." He reached for her hand, gripping it tightly. "I'll write letters. I'll call. I won't forget you." "I'll wait," she whispered, pressing her palm against his. "I'll wait for you." The train arrived, loud, hissing, steam curling around them. Marcus hugged her fiercely, a long, desperate embrace, before stepping onto the train, waving once, and disappearing into the carriage. Elena stood there, wind whipping her hair, staring until the train faded from view, holding her wrist, the tattoo glowing faintly in the sunlight, a promise and a memory that would last her entire life. And as the train carried him away, both of them believed with a fragile hope that their love could survive distance, that letters and time would bridge the space between them, unaware that a cruel twist of fate and an unkind hand would soon rewrite their story. Marcus had been in the city for less than a week when the first letter should have arrived. He had been counting the days, checking the mailbox obsessively outside the small apartment he rented near the hospital, imagining her words in neat handwriting, imagining her sketches tucked inside, imagining her voice in every line. He carried the hope of her letters with him to class, to the library, to the lecture halls, to every quiet corner where he could sit and read. Every morning, he imagined slipping a hand into the mailbox and feeling the familiar fold of her paper, the slight weight of her words pressed against his fingers. But no letter ever came. At first, he thought it was the post, or the delay. "Perhaps it's late," he muttered one evening, pacing his small apartment, tossing aside textbooks in frustration. "Perhaps she's busy, Marcus. Perhaps she couldn't write yet." He told himself this over and over, rehearsing excuses that sounded plausible, hoping against hope that the next day would bring a letter, that tomorrow she would speak to him through her words. Meanwhile, across the country, Elena sat at a small wooden desk in a tiny apartment, carefully folding paper, writing long letters she hoped he would receive. She wrote of their days, of small joys, of her laughter, of her hope. She wrote of the park, of stolen kisses, of the tattoo she carried proudly, and of how deeply she missed him. She sealed each envelope with care, pressed it into the mailbox, and waited. Day after day, she wondered if they would reach him, if he would open them and remember her, if he would still care. But someone else had other plans. Marcus's father, controlling, proud, and wealthy beyond measure, had discovered the budding relationship between his son and the free-spirited art student. He despised Elena from the start. The clothes she wore, the way she laughed, her messy hair, her small fragile apartment, her lack of wealth, her lack of family, her lack of any social standing that might be acceptable to a Thorne. The thought that his son might be distracted, might be tied to someone so ordinary, so beneath their name, infuriated him. He had always believed Marcus could be molded into the perfect image of success, the heir to his empire, and anyone who might threaten that image had to be removed. So when letters from Elena arrived at Marcus's family home, intercepted by a servant loyal to Marcus's father, they never reached Marcus. Instead, they were read, scrutinized, and quietly destroyed. And when the father grew tired of waiting, he fabricated one himself. He wrote a letter in elegant, practiced script, the kind of handwriting Marcus would recognize as refined and authoritative, and it said simply, "Elena has moved on. She has found someone else and married. You should focus on your studies. Do not linger in the past." The father sent it, sealed with the Thorne crest, and made sure it arrived promptly at Marcus's apartment. Marcus found it on his doorstep one rainy evening. The envelope was elegant, familiar, and when he opened it, he felt a strange pang of hope, thinking perhaps it was one of her letters at last. But as his eyes scanned the words, disbelief and shock struck him first, then a deep, wrenching pain. His chest tightened, his throat closed, and the world seemed to tilt beneath him. He read the letter over and over, the same words each time. Elena had moved on. She had married someone else. She didn't care. She had forgotten him. He could not breathe. He could not think. His hand shook as he balled the paper into a fist, then flattened it, then crushed it again. "No," he whispered, a hollow sound in the empty apartment. "No, she wouldn't do this. She can't. His mind raced, searching for a mistake, a trap, a misreading, a miracle that could make these words false. But none came. And then, slowly, pride and grief coiled around his heart like iron chains. The hurt of love lost, the betrayal he did not understand, the absence he had never anticipated, pressed down on him. His mother's words, his father's rules, the weight of expectation, they all joined together, hardening him. He buried himself in his work. He memorized every medical text, every procedure, every case study, every detail of human anatomy with an obsession so fierce it left no room for doubt, no room for longing, no room for pain, except as fuel. His apartment filled with books, charts, anatomical diagrams pinned to the walls. He studied late into the night, ate little, slept less. Every letter he had imagined, every word he had waited for, every promise they had shared became a ghost he would not allow to haunt him publicly, but that pushed him toward perfection. He excelled, rose quickly, gained recognition, awards, and opportunities beyond imagination. Yet in every success, in every precision of his surgical hand, he carried the hollow ache of a love he thought lost, the pain of a truth he would never speak. He stopped writing. He stopped hoping. He stopped remembering her face in the quiet moments of the night. He told himself it was necessary, that the world demanded focus, that emotion was a weakness he could no longer afford. He cut himself off from the past, from Elena, from anything that could make his heart soft again. He left behind the boy who had loved fiercely and allowed himself to harden, to become the man who was brilliant but distant, cold to all but the urgent need to survive and succeed. And yet, deep in the corners of his heart, the letters, the imagined touch of her hand, the memory of her laugh, remained, buried beneath layers of pride and ambition, waiting for a day when fate might finally strip away the walls he had built, when he might see, touch, and know the truth that had been stolen from him for decades. Elena sat at her small wooden desk, the apartment quiet except for the soft hum of the radiator and the occasional creak of the floorboards. Outside, the city moved on, unaware of her heartache, unaware of the life growing inside her, unaware of the love she had lost and the letters that would never reach him. She unfolded yet another sheet of paper, her hand trembling slightly as she dipped her pen in ink. Each word she wrote carried hope and longing, desperation and love, a silent plea to a man who would never see it. Marcus, she wrote, the name curling on the page. I hope this letter finds you. I hope you are well. I hope you remember me. I think of you every day. I am here, waiting, wishing, hoping you will write. I hope you have not forgotten the stars we counted, the dreams we whispered, the plans we made. She folded the letter carefully, placed it in an envelope, sealed it, and tucked it into the little wooden box where all the others had gone, letters she had sent and that would never reach him. She sighed, the sound soft and lonely in the empty room, a sound that echoed the emptiness inside her chest. Weeks passed. Every day, she felt the tiny shifts and flutters in her body, signs of the life growing within her, and every day, the ache of absence pressed on her more heavily. One morning, she went to the doctor, a small clinic across the city, and there, after careful examination and hesitant words, she heard it. She was pregnant. Not with one child, the doctor said softly, but two. Twins. The news struck her in a way she hadn't expected. Part of her panicked, fear tightening in her chest. How would she manage? How would she provide? How could she love and raise two children alone? And yet, another part of her, a quiet, resolute, stubborn part, rose within her. She could do this. She would do this. She would raise them, give them love, give them life, and give them the truth she had carried in her heart, even if it was a secret she would bear alone. That evening, she returned to her apartment, her hands brushing the small, faded tattoo on her wrist, the name Marcus, simple and elegant, a mark of a love that had changed her life forever. She traced the letters gently, her fingers lingering on the lines, feeling the ink under her skin, a permanent reminder of the man she had loved and lost, a symbol of joy and pain intertwined. Tears came unbidden, streaking her cheeks, her body trembling with the weight of grief and hope. I will carry you, she whispered to the children she had yet to meet. I will love you. And I will protect this part of your father, even if he doesn't know yet. She took the small scarf she had bought years ago, a soft thing, faded slightly, worn thin in places, and wrapped it carefully around her wrist, over the tattoo. The scarf became her secret, a silent guardian of memory, of love, of pain. She wore it always, a shield from the world and a reminder to herself. No one else needed to see it. The tattoo, the name, the story, it was hers, and someday, perhaps, it would belong to her children in a different way. Elena threw herself into creating a home for her future children. She found small, quiet jobs, painting when she could, taking work wherever she could, always aware of the life growing inside her. She rearranged her tiny apartment, making space for cribs, for toys, for laughter and cries yet to come. She counted every penny, stretched every dollar, but she refused to let fear or despair rule her. She sang softly to herself in the evening's melodies she had once shared with Marcus, letting the sound fill the empty apartment. Letting the notes travel outward, imagining they carried love and protection to the children she had yet to meet. She wrote letters to herself too, not for anyone else, notes about dreams, hopes, instructions for the day she would need to explain the world to her children. She imagined reading them one day, teaching them about kindness, about resilience, about the complicated and beautiful truth of life and love. And every night, before she slept, she pressed a palm over her wrist, over the tattoo hidden beneath the scarf, and whispered into the darkness, "I will keep you safe. I will carry your story. And one day, you will know who you are, and who he is, and that we survived, even when the world tried to separate us." Months passed. Her belly grew round, the two tiny lives inside her kicking and stretching, and with each motion, each heartbeat, she felt a fierce, unyielding love. Pain mixed with joy, sorrow with hope. She walked through the city carrying her secret, her burden, and her promise, wrapping the scarf tighter when the wind bit, tucking the tattoo from sight, a silent monument to what had been and what was yet to come. She prepared for the arrival of her children, not knowing how Marcus would ever come back into the picture, not knowing if he would even recognize her or them. But knowing one thing with every fiber of her being, she would protect them, love them, and carry the story forward. And so in the quiet of her small apartment, with the city bustling beyond her window and letters stacked in neat piles that would never reach him, Elena prepared to give birth to twins alone, but unbroken, the tattoo on her wrist a symbol of a past love that could not be taken. Wrapped in a scarf that held both grief and hope, a secret she would pass to her children only when the time was right, a story of love, loss, resilience, and courage that would shape their lives forever. Marcus sank into the chair behind his desk, the photo of Elena clutched in both hands, trembling, his knuckles white around the edges. His eyes were wide, unblinking, fixed on the faint tattoo on her wrist, the name he had once thought lost to time, the mark of a love he had never stopped carrying. The twins stood a few feet away, small, uncertain, their wide eyes flicking between him and the scattered medical scans, the scarf lying forgotten on the desk. They had never seen him like this. This was not the sharp, cold, untouchable man who had dismissed them just minutes before. Now he seemed smaller, human, vulnerable, and terrifyingly broken. He swallowed hard, a dry, shuddering sound. His chest heaved, catching, and he struggled to find the words. His voice came out ragged, uneven, trembling under the weight of decades of absence and longing. When is her birthday?" he asked, barely more than a whisper, looking first at Leo, then at Leah. Leah's small face twisted with confusion. "Mom's birthday? It's April 21st, she said slowly, unsure why the man behind the desk looked like the world had just shifted beneath him. Marcus closed his eyes, pressing the photo to his face as if he could somehow breathe in the truth of it, feel the years they had stolen from him, the years of lost letters, lost moments, lost lives. His mind raced, calculating, connecting, his chest tightening with each realization. The timeline was exact. The twins, her children, his children, had been born almost precisely 9 months after he had left for his surgical program abroad. His lips parted, disbelief mingling with awe, horror, and a fragile hope. It can't be," he whispered. He looked slowly up at the twins, really looked this time, their small faces flushed with fear and uncertainty, their bodies tense, ready to run or fight or cry. His heart skipped, then thudded, then stuttered violently as the truth crystallized inside him. "Leah, I am your father." The words hung in the air like a thunderclap, reverberating through the office, through the twins' small bodies, through the weight of years that had separated them. Time seemed to slow. Leo's eyes widened, mouth falling open slightly. His chest rose and fell rapidly, disbelief evident in every movement. Leah's hand went to her mouth, trembling. The world tilted, spun, narrowed, and expanded all at once. Nothing made sense, and yet everything did. Marcus's lips quivered. He gestured toward the photo, still clutched in his shaking hands. "Look, see this," he said, voice barely audible. "The tattoo. I never stopped loving her. I thought I'd lost her forever because of lies, because of letters I never received. I thought she had moved on, that that she had forgotten me, and I buried myself in work. I hardened my heart. I tried to survive without her, but I never stopped. He paused, breath-breaking, tears slipping down his cheeks, warm and unstoppable, tracing lines across his pale skin. I never stopped loving her. And now I see you. I see you, my children, and I. He could not finish. His hand shook violently as he held the photo closer to the twins, showing them the faded ink of their father's name on her wrist. Leo's small face turned red, a surge of fury erupting from somewhere deep inside him, a raw and primal anger. You left her, he shouted, fists clenched at his sides, voice cracking. You think a story excuses you? You think saying I loved her makes up for leaving her alone for years? For leaving us alone? His words trembled with pain, betrayal, and frustration, piercing the sterile office like shards of glass. Leah took a step forward, her small body shaking, tears streaming freely down her cheeks. She could barely speak, her voice a soft, broken whisper. I don't understand. I can see the hurt in you, but you're our father? And it's all so much. Her words stumbled, broken, unfinished, the weight of emotion too heavy for such small shoulders. She pressed her hands against her mouth to stop herself from screaming, from collapsing, from letting the flood of confusion and grief pour out entirely. Marcus's chest heaved, heart raw and bleeding. He leaned forward, voice hoarse, cracked, barely above a whisper. I should have been there. I should have fought for you, for her, for us. I thought I was protecting you, protecting her. I thought the world had taken her from me, and I didn't know. I didn't know the truth. But now I see everything. I see you. And I am so sorry. I am so sorry. The office was heavy with silence, the only sounds the ragged breathing of Marcus, the whimpers of Leah, the trembling of Leo. The photo lay on the desk, the tattoo visible a symbol of love loss and years stolen, a mark that had survived time, lies, and distance, and now stood as a bridge between past pain and the possibility of a future. Marcus's tears continued to fall freely, warm and unstoppable, his body shaking as the full weight of regret, recognition, and longing crashed down on him. Leo's anger wavered, confusion flickering across his small face. He wanted to scream, to demand, to reject, and yet the truth was undeniable. The resemblance was there, undeniable, the jawline, the eyes, the faint echo of something familiar that belonged to him, to them. Leah's tears blurred her vision, but she saw it too, the mark, the photo, the man trembling with a vulnerability they had never imagined. Marcus lowered his gaze to the twins again, voice shaking, fragile. I will do everything I can. I don't know how to make up for what I lost, for what I missed, but I will try. I will try to be here. I will not leave again. The world outside seemed to pause. Time itself held its breath as the two small children, Leo and Leah, stared at the man who had suddenly become the father they had never known, the man who carried their mother's name etched on her skin, the man whose tears told stories no words could contain. Pain, confusion, disbelief, and a fragile, budding hope tangled together in the room, dense and impossible to ignore, marking the first moment of a family reunited after decades of absence and heartbreak. The moment the realization hit Marcus, the grief, the shock, and the rage coalesced into a singular, undeniable focus. He could not lose her, not now, not after everything. His chest heaved, eyes wide and bright with a feral intensity, and his hands clenched into fists. He dropped the photo onto the desk, the letters on the page fluttering in the office air, and stood abruptly, the chair scraping loudly against the polished floor. He breathed deeply once, then a second time, and in that moment, the cold, brilliant surgeon he had always been surged forward, fueled by something raw and unrelenting. Desperation sharpened him, honed his focus, cleared the clutter of emotion into a single point of action. We have no time, he barked, voice low, urgent, controlled yet trembling with a strain that made it impossible to ignore. We must move her now. Get an ambulance. Now. His assistant froze, eyes wide, but Marcus had already dialed the number himself, fingers flying over the keypad, giving instructions with precision and authority, every syllable clipped, commanding. Critical care ambulance. Prepare for immediate transfer. Patient Elena Rossi. Cardiac condition. Urgent. I am Dr. Marcus Thorne. You leave in 5 minutes. I will be there with the twins. No delays. The assistant moved like lightning, calling dispatch, organizing staff, relaying Marcus's orders to the nurses and transport team. Marcus grabbed a clean coat from a hook, slung it over his shoulders, eyes burning with determination, and turned to the twins. They stood frozen in the doorway, pale and wide-eyed, struggling to process everything they had just learned, struggling to move through the haze of fear, confusion, and hope. Leah, he said sharply, almost harshly, but there was no anger behind it, only urgency. You need to suit up. Scrubs. Gloves. Masks. You will observe, but you stay calm. Understand. This is life and death. Your mother needs you to breathe, to be still, to watch, to learn, to witness. The twins nodded automatically, their small hands fumbling with the scrubs they had never worn before, their breath shallow, eyes darting between Marcus, the phone on his ear, the papers on the desk. Marcus did not wait for them to finish adjusting. He moved toward the elevator, his stride long and unyielding, his mind already 3 steps ahead, coordinating the ambulance, arranging the route, checking the readiness of the OR, visualizing every movement, every incision, every possible complication. The scene at the hospital lobby was chaotic. Ambulance sirens screamed as the team wheeled Elena out of the public hospital, frail and pale, tubes and monitors accompanying her like a metallic cocoon. Marcus arrived at the doors moments later, twins in tow, the weight of the past and present pressing on him, but his focus unbroken. He leaned over the stretcher, his gloved hands checking for lines, monitors, oxygen flow, murmuring reassurances under his breath. He didn't have time to hear himself. Stay with me, Elena. Stay. I am here. The ambulance doors slammed shut. Marcus climbed in, pacing beside the stretcher as the paramedics navigated traffic with sirens screaming. He barked instructions, adjusted equipment, checked monitors, eyes scanning every detail. Leo and Leah watched from the corner, quiet and still absorbing everything, hearts racing, eyes wide, witnessing the man they had only just met as a father transform into the man who could literally command life from the brink of death. They arrived at the private clinic in minutes, though it felt like hours, the hall silent but tense, every staff member alert, sensing the gravity. Marcus moved Elena from stretcher to gurney, wheeling her swiftly into the prepped OR. The twins followed cautiously, hesitant, hands at their sides, mask slightly askew, eyes not leaving the scene. Marcus barked orders. Anesthesia, check vitals, suction ready, defibrillator on standby. Instruments, sterilize and lay out. Prep the OR. Now. He scrubbed rapidly, methodically, hands moving like trained lightning, gloves snapping into place, mask secured, cap tied. His breath was steady, even, controlled, but inside his chest a storm raged, a mixture of fear, guilt, desperation, and hope. Every muscle in his body was coiled, ready, precise, the brilliance of decades of training combined with a raw, primal drive to save the woman he had loved and the children he had just discovered. The twins watched through the observation window, frozen in awe and shock. Leo's small hands pressed to the glass, knuckles white, while Leah pressed her forehead against it, eyes shimmering with tears. They had never imagined the surgical world like this, the lights bright and sterile, the team moving with mechanical precision, Marcus at the center, commanding, guiding, every motion deliberate, exact, unyielding. Marcus leaned over Elena, checking monitors again, speaking softly to her though she was unconscious, murmuring her name, reassuring her in a voice that carried decades of love, regret, and urgency. Elena, stay with me, stay with me. I am here. I am here. I will not leave you. Every second was an eternity. Every breath counted. Every heartbeat, every monitor beep, every soft rustle of gloves and instruments heightened the tension. Marcus's mind raced ahead, planning, anticipating, adjusting, calculating. He was surgeon, father, lover, man all at once, fused into a single unstoppable force driven by desperation, love, and the need for redemption. And all the while, the twins watched silently, absorbing everything, the precision, the intensity, the raw emotion hidden behind the mask, the hands that could heal, the eyes that now wept, the voice that whispered both apology and promise. The moment was sacred, terrifying, and transformative. Marcus was not just a surgeon. He was a man reclaiming his past, fighting for his future, and preparing to give life, not just through skill, but through every ounce of his heart, to the woman and the children he had been denied for too long. Marcus stood over Elena's body-sterile mask, hiding his face, bright lights glaring down on him, hands steady as steel, mind racing faster than any heartbeat in the room, eyes scanning monitors, fingers adjusting clamps, scalpel sutures with unerring precision. Every movement was exact, trained, practiced 1,000 times, but his soul was a storm, chaotic, trembling, drowning in decades of love and regret, in the weight of new fatherhood, in the terror of possibly losing her forever. He cut, he clamped, he sutured, every motion deliberate, mechanical, but inside his chest, something shattered and rebuilt itself with each pulse of adrenaline. Scalpel, he called, voice low but commanding, echoing faintly against the sterile walls. Forceps, right side. Suction, now. Monitor vitals. The team moved like a well-oiled machine, instruments clinking, beeping, moving in perfect sync, but Marcus's eyes were elsewhere, flitting between the technical, the human, and the memory. A flash of her smile appeared in his mind. Elena, young, laughing under the sun on the beach, hair tumbling in waves, eyes bright with mischief. Her laugh, soft and melodic, echoed in his ears, cutting through the tension. He felt her presence as if she were right there beside him, fragile and alive, relying on him to protect her, and he could not fail. He paused briefly, just a heartbeat, to take a breath. He could feel the weight of the years, the absence, the twins who waited outside, the life they had all lost, all compressed into this single moment. He pressed on, fingers working with precision, heart and mind tethered to both the living patient and the memories of the woman he had loved and thought lost. "Stay with me, Elena," he whispered under his breath, soft, urgent. "You have to stay, please." The monitors beeped steadily, a rhythm that matched the cadence of his fear. But suddenly, a flicker, a change, alarms flared, the heart faltered. Marcus's eyes widened slightly, muscles tensing, adrenaline spiking, but his hands remained steady. Clamp, now. Defibrillator, ready. I need suction. His voice cut through the room, each word precise, urgent, commanding. His mind raced, assessing, recalculating, anticipating every possible outcome. He felt the familiar terror of loss, but he also felt something new. A primal, almost desperate determination that came from knowing he had been given a second chance, that this was not just Elena's life but a chance to reclaim the family he had lost. He leaned closer, whispering again, voice trembling behind the mask. "Stay with me, Elena. Please. I won't let go, not this time." The team followed his commands perfectly, moving instruments, checking vitals, adjusting monitors, but Marcus's eyes never left her chest, never left the beating organ that now represented more than medicine, more than skill, more than survival. It represented hope, love, forgiveness, a life stolen and now being returned. His hands worked with fluid precision, moving almost faster than thought, sutures tightening, clamps releasing, each motion a prayer, each breath a promise. Then, the faltering returned, the monitors screaming in warning. His heart thudded violently in his chest, matching the chaos on the screen, but he did not flinch. He leaned closer, gripping the edges of the surgical table, voice low and intimate, raw. "Elena, stay. I'm here. You hear me? You can fight. We can do this. We can be together. Please, just stay." A long pause, the room tense, everyone holding their breath, the twins pressed against the glass outside, unseen but present, hearts pounding with every beep, every pause, every motion. Marcus's hands moved again, precise, steady, but now imbued with something beyond training. Pure will, desperation, love unspoken for decades, the weight of fatherhood pressing down, guiding every suture, every cut, every clamp. The heart skipped, shuddered, faltered, and for a moment, Marcus's chest tightened with fear, eyes narrowing, focus absolute. Then, slowly, as if coaxed by his will alone, the rhythm steadied. The monitors beeped in regular cadence. A single, even, steady pulse. His jaw loosened, but he did not relax fully. Every nerve remained taut, every muscle alert, every thought on survival, on repair, on redemption. Marcus leaned closer, whispering again, almost inaudible over the hum of machinery. "You're doing this. You're staying. I see you, Elena. I love you. I will not let you go. Not now, not ever." The team moved like shadows around him, instruments passed, sponges used, suction applied, yet Marcus was more than a surgeon now. He was a man fighting for life, fighting for a second chance, fighting for love, for family, for everything he had lost. Every cut, every stitch, every adjustment carried years of longing, regret, and hope. He was not just repairing a heart. He was fighting to reclaim a past, to secure a future, to bring back life where absence and lies had long dwelled. And then, finally, a slow, steady rhythm returned, the monitors beeping in soft reassurance. Marcus exhaled, his hands still steady, but his body sagged slightly with exhaustion, with relief, with the crushing emotional weight of what had just occurred. He leaned back, eyes still wet, hands trembling as he pressed them together, whispering once more, "Stay with me, Elena, you're going to stay. I promise." The room remained tense but alive with cautious hope, the twins outside pressing their foreheads against the glass, wide-eyed, witnessing the miracle their father had wrought, the return of life, and the proof that love, skill, and desperate will could combine to fight back time, pain, and absence, to reclaim what was nearly lost. The surgery was over. The monitors beeped steadily, a soft, measured rhythm that filled the quiet of the private ICU room. Marcus sat slumped in the chair beside Elena's bed, his hands folded loosely over the bandaged wrist that bore the faded tattoo, now partially obscured by gauze. The room smelled of antiseptic and ozone, faintly metallic, but he barely noticed. His eyes were fixed on her face, pale and still beneath the crisp white sheets, every rise and fall of her chest under the ventilator a fragile, miraculous proof that she was still here, still alive. He had scrubbed out, removed his gloves, but he did not move. He could not. His fingers traced absent patterns over the bandage, the edge of the scarf he had left draped nearby, as if he could touch the past and present at once. His voice broke the silence, soft, low, trembling. "Elena, it's me. Marcus. I'm here. I never should have left. I never stopped. I failed you. I failed you for so long, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." He paused, swallowing hard, eyes brimming with tears that he did not bother to hide. His hands clenched the edges of the bed rail, knuckles whitening. "I thought I had lost you. I thought you were gone. I thought I'd never see you again, never know you were carrying our children. I didn't know. I didn't know the truth. I was blind, and I let pride and lies and fear rule me, and I left you alone, and I can never take that back, never. But I'm here now. I am here." The ventilator hissed softly, the steady pulse of the machines echoing in the quiet room. Marcus leaned closer, brushing a strand of hair from her pale forehead, gentle, tentative, as if his touch might wake her. He traced the lines of the bandaged tattoo with his fingertips. This is still here. You kept it. You carried me with you, even when I wasn't here, even when I failed you. I see it. I see you. I see us." Outside the room, the twins lingered in the doorway. Leo's small frame was tense, fists clenched at his sides, shoulders stiff. Leah's face was streaked with tears, her small hands pressed to the glass as if holding onto the fragile life inside might make it more real. They had followed Marcus into the OR, watched everything, felt every heartbeat through the glass and monitors, and now the weight of it all pressed down on them. Their anger, sharp and burning just hours ago, was softening, melting into something more complex, grief, relief, confusion, and hope all tangled together, impossible to separate. Marcus continued, barely pausing, pouring out words he had never been able to say aloud. "You were always strong. You always were. You carried me with you, even when I wasn't there. You made a life alone, and you raised them, our children. I didn't know. I didn't know. I should have been there. I should have fought. I should have written. I should have believed in us. But I failed you." His hand lingered on the bandage, fingertips brushing the scar beneath. "I'm so sorry, for all of it, all the pain, all the loneliness, all the fear you felt. I see you now. I see everything, and I will never leave you again. I swear to you, never again." The twins shuffled forward hesitantly, Leo gripping Leah's small hand, both of them inching closer to the glass, watching Marcus in silent awe. Leo's voice broke the quiet, small and uncertain. "Dad?" he whispered, the word tentative, testing, unsure. Marcus looked up, eyes wet, a thin, shaky smile breaking through the exhaustion and despair. "Yes, it's me. I'm here. I am your father. And I promise. I will do everything I can to protect her, to protect you, to make it right. I will be here." Leah's tears fell freely now, trickling onto the glass as she pressed her forehead against it. We are scared," she whispered, voice trembling, almost inaudible. We don't know how to feel. But we want her to be okay. We want her back. Marcus nodded, voice raw, broken. I know. And she will be okay. We are going to get through this. I promise. You are both strong, like her, like your mother. And you have me now. I am here, and I will not leave. He shifted slightly, adjusting the chair to lean closer, resting a gloved hand gently over the twins' mother's bandaged wrist. His thumb traced the faint letters beneath the scarf. You kept this. You never let go. I see it now. I see everything, all the years I lost, all the time we missed, and I swear I will never waste another second. The twins watched quietly, hearts heavy, but slowly, the anger that had burned so fiercely began to melt. Leo's fists unclenched, and Leah let her hands drop to her sides. They could not yet fully understand all that had happened, could not yet forgive or reconcile the years of absence. But the sight of Marcus, weeping quietly, speaking to the woman who had loved them all along, softened the sharp edges of their grief. Something new and fragile began to grow. Hope, understanding, and the first stirrings of trust in the man who had suddenly become their father. Marcus leaned closer, whispering to her again, voice barely audible over the steady beeping of the monitors. You're going to be okay. I'm here. I've got you. I've got us. Please, stay with me. Stay with me. His finger squeezed gently around the bandaged wrist. The tattoo beneath a secret, a bridge, a testament to love that had endured. To a family almost lost and now found a life he would fight for with every ounce of skill, will, and heart he possessed. Hours passed, the room quiet except for the machines and Marcus's low murmurs, the twins lingering at the doorway, watching silently, hearts gradually softening, grief blending into a tentative hope, a fragile trust that perhaps, after so many years of pain, they could be a family again. Elena's eyelids fluttered slowly, painfully, as if each blink was a battle against the weight of sleep, of unconsciousness, of a body that had fought so hard to survive. Her breath came ragged and shallow, shallow enough to make the ventilator hiss softly with each intake. The bright lights of the ICU were harsh on her eyes, the sterile whiteness piercing after so many hours of darkness, of unconscious drifting between life and death. She moved slightly, a weak groan escaping her lips, and her fingers twitched as if reaching for something familiar, something lost. The first face she saw was Marcus. Not the sharp, unyielding surgeon who had demanded perfection, who had scolded her twins, who had been distant and cold for decades. No. This Marcus was older, aged by time and grief, the edges of his face lined with sleepless nights, the weight of years pressing down in subtle furrows, but the eyes were the same. The eyes she had loved so fiercely, that had haunted her dreams, that had been seared into her memory. They were soft, wet, brimming with relief, with love, with something deeper than either could name in words, but utterly, undeniably familiar. Elena blinked again, trying to focus, trying to comprehend. Her mind swam, clouded with medication, weakness, and disbelief. She thought she must be dreaming. This could not be real. The room, the light, the sound of monitors, the faint beeping, the smell of antiseptic. It was too much, too sudden, too precise. Her voice came out as a faint croak, barely audible. Marcus. He leaned closer immediately, a hand brushing lightly against her forehead, his fingers gentle, cautious, reverent almost, as though she were made of glass and could shatter with the wrong touch. Elena, it's me. It's really me, he whispered, voice trembling, breaking into a sob that he did not hide. I'm here. I've always been here. I found you. Her eyes, weak and unfocused, flicked down to the bandaged wrist, where she had kept the tattoo hidden under gauze, the scar of love and memory pressed close to her skin. Marcus's hand followed hers, gently guiding her fingers to the bandage, encouraging her to feel the ink beneath. Feel it, Elena, he murmured, voice low, trembling with a fragile hope. I never stopped looking for you. I was just looking in the wrong places, behind the wrong walls, lost in time and lies. But I found you. I am here now. I am here. Tears welled in Elena's eyes, blurring her vision. She tried to speak, tried to move, but the weakness in her body made words stumble, made limbs feel foreign. Marcus gently brushed her hair back, his thumbs brushing against her cheek as he whispered again, I am so sorry. I am so sorry for everything. For leaving, for not writing, for the years lost. I can never take them back, but I can be here now. I can be with you, if you let me. Her lips trembled, barely forming words. I thought you were gone. I waited for so long. Her voice broke entirely, and a choked sob escaped her throat. Marcus leaned closer, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead, whispering assurances that had no end, only the infinite echo of regret and love combined. I know. I know. I was lost. I was blind. I am here now. I am here, and I will not leave again. The door creaked softly, and the twins entered quietly, hesitant, still small and fragile but drawn to the sight before them. Leo's eyes widened as he saw his mother awake, alive, looking so pale, so fragile, but breathing, and most importantly, seeing Marcus, the man they had only just learned was their father. Leah's small hands clutched Leo's, tears streaming freely as the realization hit her. The woman she had been terrified of losing was here alive. And the man she barely knew was not just a stranger but her father, a man who loved her mother, who had been searching for them all along. Marcus turned his head slightly toward the twins, voice breaking but soft, full of warmth. Come closer, come here. It's okay, it's safe. She's awake, she's here, we are all here now. Leo stepped forward slowly, eyes wide, taking in the fragile figure of his mother, the aged but familiar man at her side, the miracle that had unfolded before them. Mom, he whispered, small, trembling. Leah followed, her voice barely audible. Mom, it's really you. Elena blinked at them, recognition dawning, confusion mingled with relief. Leah, my babies. Her voice cracked, soft and weak, but full of warmth and love. She tried to reach out, and Marcus immediately guided her hands, supporting her, encouraging the connection. Her small, trembling fingers met her children's, and tears fell freely from all of them. The room filled with quiet sobs, soft murmurs, and whispered reassurances. I am here. I am here now, Marcus said again, voice thick with tears. We are all here. Together. Finally. Elena's gaze returned to Marcus, softening, a tear slipping down her cheek. Marcus, you found us, after all these years, she whispered, voice fragile but full of awe. I never stopped, he replied, voice breaking, tears spilling freely now. I never stopped looking. I never stopped hoping. I never stopped loving you. The twins watched in awe, hearts swelling, grief and anger melting away into something complex, something hopeful. Leah sobbed into her mother's shoulder, Leo's small arms wrapped around her waist, Marcus holding them all in, guiding, supporting, enveloping the family in the fragile, tremulous beginnings of reunion. The floodgates of emotion had opened. Explanations tumbled out in whispers, apologies flowed between sobs, and the overwhelming shock of a family found after decades of absence and lies settled in the room like a warm, fragile light. Words were not enough, but they tried anyway. Confessions, regrets, expressions of love, tremulous promises for the future. Marcus brushed a tear from Elena's cheek, leaned closer, and whispered once more. We have a lot to rebuild, a lifetime to make up for, but we will do it. Together. All of us. Finally, we are together. Elena reached up weakly, fingertips brushing his face, then the bandaged tattoo, pressing her palm to the skin as if to seal the memory, the love, the family they had all fought to reclaim. Together, she whispered back, eyes brimming with tears, voice fragile but certain. And in that moment, in that quiet, bright ICU room amid the monitors and the beeping and the sterile smell of antiseptic, a family that had been lost for decades was finally found, the fragile threads of the past intertwining with the hope of the future, binding them all together with tears, love, and a second chance that would not be squandered. The first morning sunlight poured into Marcus's home like a soft golden river, filtering through the tall windows, bouncing off the polished wooden floors, and filling every corner of the expansive living space with warmth. It was a home that once felt sterile, too perfect, too cold, but now it seemed alive, imbued with the laughter and footsteps of the small family slowly reclaiming their place within it. Elena's wheelchair creaked softly as she was guided down the hallway by Marcus, her hand on his arm for support, her eyes blinking at the brightness, at the vibrant colors that filled the room, at the carefully arranged furniture, now seeming less intimidating and more welcoming. Careful, careful, Marcus said gently, his voice steady but soft, guiding her foot placement on the polished floor. One step at a time, Elena. Don't rush it. We are not in a hurry. Elena nodded, a faint smile curving her lips, though her body trembled with weakness, her muscles stiff from weeks of immobility. I feel like a child again, she whispered, voice low, strained but filled with quiet humor. It's all too much. You are strong, Marcus replied, a faint, proud smile breaking across his face. Stronger than you think. You've always been. Just Trust yourself. Trust your body. I'll be right here. The twins were nearby, Leo hovering anxiously, hands tucked into his pockets, watching every movement with careful attention, and Leah trailing slightly behind, holding a sketchbook filled with fresh drawings, her eyes flicking between her mother, her father, and the bright, unfamiliar home. Mom, you're doing it. Leo exclaimed quietly but with excitement, careful not to startle her. One more step. Elena laughed softly, breath catching slightly, gripping Marcus's arm tighter. One more step. Yes, one more step. Hours passed like this, a slow, deliberate rhythm of practice, encouragement, and small victories. Elena's strength returned gradually, muscles remembering motion, confidence rebuilding one careful movement at a time. Marcus's patience never wavered. Every step she took was celebrated quietly, every stumble met with a gentle hand and soft reassurance. Later, Marcus and Leo stood outside the driveway in Marcus's sleek black car. The twins had insisted on doing small, cautious lessons in driving, and Marcus had agreed, knowing it was as much about building trust as teaching mechanics. Leo's small hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, eyes wide with nervous excitement. Foot on the brake, Leo. Always keep your foot ready. Do you understand? Marcus instructed, voice calm but firm. I'm here. I won't let go, but you need to try too. Focus, breathe. Leo nodded, his lips pressed together, glancing at Marcus nervously. Okay, good, Marcus said softly, placing a reassuring hand on Leo's shoulder. Now slowly, very slowly, press the gas. Just a little. Steady. Don't panic. You can do this. As Leo carefully moved the car forward, Marcus's eyes softened, watching him, feeling the subtle pride and love that surged through him. You're doing it. Yes, that's it. Steady, steady. Meanwhile, Leah dragged Marcus into the sunlit living room, sketchbook in hand. Look at this, she said, voice eager. I drew Mom's garden, and the flowers she used to paint, and the way the light falls. I think you'll like it. Marcus took the sketchbook cautiously, flipping the pages with careful fingers. His breath caught. The lines, the colors, the small attention to detail, it was eerily familiar. It was Elena. It was her hand, her heart, her style, reborn in their daughter. Leah, this is incredible, he said softly, awe in his voice. It's like looking at her again. Like seeing her through your eyes. You've inherited more than talent. You've inherited her soul. Leah's eyes widened with a shy pride, cheeks flushing. Really? You really think so? Yes, Marcus replied, voice warm and certain. Absolutely. She would be so proud of you. So proud. I am. The next day, Marcus finally confronted his aging father. There was no shouting, no anger, only a deep, quiet sadness. They sat across from each other in the study, the weight of decades of misunderstanding pressing down, heavy and palpable. I cannot do this anymore, Marcus said quietly, voice low but steady. I cannot carry the chains of your resentment, your control, your lies. I have my own family now. I have what you could never understand, love, trust, forgiveness. And I am cutting the last tie to the life you wanted for me, the life you tried to shape. I will not allow your bitterness to touch us anymore. His father's lips pressed into a thin line, eyes narrowing, but Marcus did not flinch. Do not try to change me. Do not try to control me. I am no longer your boy. I am a man who has found his path, his family, his heart. That ends now. In the evenings, Marcus and Elena talked for hours. They sat together on the sunlit veranda, cups of tea warming their hands, hearts warming in tandem. Words spilled slowly at first, careful, hesitant, then with more freedom as trust rebuilt itself. I don't even know where to begin, Elena whispered one evening, eyes tracing the lines of his face, noticing the silver threads in his hair, the small scars that spoke of years of struggle. Begin anywhere, Marcus replied softly. I will listen. I need to hear everything. I need to know you again. I need to be here. I missed you, Elena said quietly, voice breaking, tears slipping. I kept hoping. I dreamed. I wanted to find you. And now, here you are, finally. I missed you too, Marcus whispered, reaching for her hand, holding it gently. More than I can say. And I will not let this be taken from us again. We will rebuild, slowly, carefully, together. Hours slipped away as they spoke, laughing softly at old memories, crying quietly at old wounds, learning the cadence of each other's voice again, tracing the lines of old love and new beginnings. The love was still there, changed by years of pain, absence, and struggle, but resilient, alive, unbroken. The twins joined them occasionally, shyly at first, then with growing confidence, sharing stories, laughing at small jokes, showing off sketches and recounting small victories. Every day, the home felt fuller, warmer, more alive. Each step, each conversation, each quiet shared glance rebuilt the fragile threads of a family torn apart but now stitched together, slowly, tenderly, with love, patience, and the weight of lives reclaimed. And in every room, every corner, every sunlit hallway, the presence of the past and the promise of the future merged. Marcus, Elena, Leo, and Leah, a family forged in pain, in love, in redemption, learning slowly, painfully, beautifully how to be together again. The garden was quiet now, the evening deepening into a soft twilight, the lanterns casting a warm glow over the table and the small gathering of four. The air was fragrant with jasmine and the lingering aroma of roasted vegetables and fresh bread, and somewhere in the distance, a gentle hum of city life reminded them that the world continued beyond this moment. But here, in this garden, time seemed to slow. Marcus sat back slightly in his chair, still holding Elena's hand loosely in his, thumb brushing lightly against the skin, tracing the faint ink of her tattoo beneath the bandage that had long since been removed. His heart was full but cautious, aware that healing took time, that trust had to be rebuilt, yet in this moment, he allowed himself to simply breathe, to be present, to soak in the quiet miracle of their togetherness. Leo, small but tall enough to reach the table comfortably now, shifted in his chair, glancing from his mother to Marcus, eyes wide with both awe and tentative respect. He had spent months learning to navigate this new reality, to reconcile the image of the absent father he had imagined with the man who had suddenly appeared, full of regret, love, and promises to stay. He looked down at his plate, nervously fidgeting with his fork, then finally lifted his gaze, hesitated, and gave Marcus a slow, deliberate nod. It was small, hesitant, but it carried weight, a silent acknowledgement, a tentative bridge being built. Okay, his nod seemed to say, I see you. I respect you. I am ready to try. Marcus caught the gesture and his chest tightened with a mixture of relief, pride, and a lingering ache of guilt that had haunted him for decades. He smiled softly, voice low but full of warmth. Thank you, Leo, he said, almost reverently. That means more than you know. Elena, seated beside him, squeezed his hand gently, her eyes meeting his, a silent shared understanding passing between them, an affirmation that this was real, that they were healing together. The faint lines of fatigue around her eyes had softened with months of recovery, the trauma of near loss giving way to a fragile, resilient strength. He's a good boy, she murmured softly, voice low but confident. He's trying. Just like we are. Leah, her small hands brushing crumbs from the edge of the table, leaned slightly forward, eyes bright, and asked Marcus to pass the salt. Her voice, casual and innocent, rang across the table, yet in the simple act of asking, she stumbled over the words and, without thinking, called him Dad. The word hung in the air for a heartbeat, fragile and unintentional, yet monumental, echoing with the weight of months of searching, longing, and hesitant acceptance. The table went quiet instantly. Even the faint chirping of crickets seemed to pause, the soft rustle of leaves suspended in reverent stillness. Marcus froze, a soft, stunned smile spreading across his face, eyes glistening with tears he had not yet shed. Dad, he whispered, almost to himself, tasting the word, the sound of it finally spoken aloud, giving it life in a way it had never known before. Elena's lips curved into a gentle, tearful smile, her hand tightening slightly around his. Yes, she said softly, voice choked with emotion. He is your dad now, he has been all along. Leo's nod deepened slightly, this time more confident, as if he, too, were ready to accept the new reality, to embrace the man who had been absent and returned, scarred, flawed, but wholly present. Leah giggled softly, embarrassed but glowing, brushing a tear from her cheek. I didn't mean to, but I'm glad, she whispered, still holding the salt shaker, now passed safely into Marcus's hand. Marcus looked at both children, then back at Elena, voice low, filled with awe and gratitude. This is what I've been waiting for all these years. This moment. All of us. Together, finally. The laughter returned slowly, tentatively at first, small chuckles breaking through the tension, then a soft chorus of genuine joy. Stories from the past months tumbled out in conversation, anecdotes of small victories and silly mishaps, moments of awkward bonding, and shared meals. The air was alive with warmth, tinged with the lingering ache of what had been lost but illuminated by the hope and love that had been reclaimed. Finally, as the meal drew to a close, Marcus reached for a camera that had been set nearby, a quiet afterthought in the corner of the garden. He gestured for Elena and the twins to gather closer. Elena moved beside him, her strength evident in the confident way she stood now, tattoo visible beneath her sleeve, hands intertwined with his. Leo and Leah moved forward, small but proud, faces eager, nervous, yet radiating a tentative trust and love that had taken months to rebuild. "Hold still," Marcus said softly, voice steady but emotional, adjusting the camera on its tripod, framing them all in the warm, golden light of the lanterns, the soft glow of evening surrounding them. He stepped back slightly, taking a deep breath, heart pounding, throat tight. 1, 2, 3. Click. The shutter captured them all. Elena, radiant and strong, smiling softly through tears. Marcus, weary and aged yet brimming with relief and love. Leo, small but proud, offering a subtle, respectful nod. And Leah, her eyes bright, a soft giggle escaping her lips, the word Dad still lingering in the air like a whispered promise. The image froze the moment in time, the culmination of years of separation, heartbreak, sacrifice, and finally, reunion. It was not perfect. The edges of their past still lingered in the quiet corners, the memories of pain and absence etched faintly into each face. But there was laughter now, tentative and real. There was love now, stubborn and unyielding. There was a future that could be built, slowly, carefully, with patience and forgiveness. And in that final shot, the four of them stood together, a family reclaimed, scarred but whole, fragile but resilient, faces marked by tears shed and joy found. A portrait of a heartbreaking past and a mended future, a testament to endurance, to love, to the quiet, profound power of reunion, captured in the warm glow of a garden evening, forever frozen in time. The evening air was soft, carrying the scent of jasmine and freshly cut grass, a gentle breeze stirring the lanterns that hung above the garden table. The sun had set hours ago, but the warm glow of string lights and candles cast a golden shimmer over the neatly set table. Plates clinked softly, cutlery catching the light as Marcus, Elena, Leo, and Leah gathered around, a family together for the first time without urgency, without crisis, but with all the weight of the months and years that had brought them here lingering quietly beneath the laughter and conversation. Elena, her posture now upright and strong, moved with confidence as she reached for the serving dish of roasted vegetables. Her eyes sparkled in the lamplight, catching Marcus's gaze as she leaned slightly forward. He looked back at her, noticing for the first time fully the way the lines around her eyes had softened, the strength in her hands, the way she carried herself. Still frail at times but tempered by resilience, by survival, by the love that had endured every obstacle. "Pass the bread, please," she said, voice light but firm. Her fingers brushed Marcus's as she reached for a basket, and without thinking, she pressed his hand gently. He looked down, and there it was, the tattoo on her wrist, no longer hidden beneath a scarf, visible in the warm candlelight. A subtle, elegant line of ink, faded but undeniable. His breath caught, a lump rising in his throat, and he squeezed her hand in return, eyes locking with hers, communicating decades of love and regret, now tempered with forgiveness and hope. "I can't believe we are really here," Elena whispered, voice low, almost to herself, yet Marcus heard. "All of this, us, it's more than I dared hope for." Marcus nodded, voice quiet but steady. "We fought for it, every step. We have to cherish it now, every single moment." Leo, sitting at the edge of the table, nudged his plate forward, elbows brushing slightly against the polished wood. He looked at his father hesitantly, unsure if this was real, unsure if the man he had just begun to call Dad would still leave, still vanish, as the shadows of the past had always threatened to do. "Dad, can I tell you something?" he asked softly, voice careful. Marcus looked down at him, concern and warmth mingling. "Of course, Leo. Always. You can tell me anything." Leo shifted, gaze dropping to the plate, then back up. I like it here, with you. I mean, with all of us. I didn't know we could be like this." Marcus's eyes softened, heart squeezing at the small, tentative admission. "Neither did I, Leo. Neither did I. But look at us. We are trying. And that's what matters. Every day, we try. That's enough." Leah, sitting across from him, piped up suddenly, cheeks flushed with excitement. Look, Dad. I drew a picture of all of us. In the garden. See? You, Mom, me, Leo, we are together. She held it up carefully, careful not to smudge the watercolors. Marcus leaned forward to see, his eyes widening slightly. The style, the attention to color and light. It was Elena's. The same way she used to paint the sunlight on the beach, the curves of leaves, the warm glow of candlelight. His throat tightened, pride and awe swirling together. It's beautiful, he said quietly, voice trembling slightly. You captured us perfectly, just like your mother always would. She'd be so proud of you, Leah, and I am too. Elena smiled softly, warmth spreading across her face. You've inherited my mistakes. And my love, she said teasingly, though her eyes glistened with tears she did not fully wipe away. And maybe a little of your stubbornness too, Marcus, she added with a small laugh, brushing his hand again. Marcus chuckled softly, a sound rich with emotion. Guilty as charged, he admitted, squeezing her hand. But look at this, all of us, here, together. We've been through fire to get here, and now we can just be. The conversation shifted naturally, stilted at first, then flowing more freely. Stories of small victories, humorous mishaps, and quiet moments filled the air. Leo described a funny incident at school. Leah added her exaggerated commentary with gestures and giggles, and Elena laughed, soft and melodic, a sound Marcus realized he had been holding in his chest for decades. Later, as Marcus poured wine into glasses, he glanced at his father, the memory of confrontation and severed ties still fresh, but now less bitter, more liberating. He had let go of resentment, of anger, of the weight his father had tried to impose. This garden, this dinner, this family, it was proof of a life finally reclaimed. Dad, thank you for everything, Marcus said softly, raising his glass slightly. Not for the pain, but for leading me to this moment, to understanding what really matters. I forgive you, finally. Elena leaned close, smiling gently. And now it's just us, she said, voice low, sincere. And we have to protect this, nurture it, love each other, even when it's messy, even when it's hard. But it's ours. Marcus nodded, heart full, eyes scanning the faces of his wife and children. Yes, even messy, even hard. We do it together. Always. Laughter erupted suddenly when Leo accidentally spilled a drop of wine, and Marcus leaned over to help clean it up, smiling despite himself. Leah teased her brother mercilessly, and Elena laughed, genuine and full-bodied. Marcus reached across the table and took Elena's hand, squeezing it lightly, feeling the familiar warmth, the strength beneath her fingers, and the tattoo beneath his gaze, a symbol of love that had endured time, distance, and heartbreak, now shining quietly in the candlelight. Thank you, Marcus whispered softly, almost to himself, almost to her, almost to the universe that had allowed them to survive this long and come together. Thank you for staying, for waiting, for finding me again. Elena squeezed his hand gently, eyes soft and glistening. I never stopped, Marcus. And now we have each other, finally. The twins watched the exchange, a mixture of awe, relief, and tentative happiness spreading across their small faces. Leah's hand brushed Marcus's arm as she asked for the bread, and Leo laughed at an awkward joke Marcus made, and the room was alive with warmth. Imperfect but full, messy but real, a family finally together, scarred but stronger, wounded but healed and united in a fragile, brilliant, enduring love. And in that soft, glowing light, with the tattoo visible and hands intertwined, with laughter mixing with tears, the camera of life seemed to freeze, capturing a family reclaimed, a past reconciled, and a future finally begun.